Netflix announced Tuesday it will work with the ACLU to fight Georgia's new abortion law. This comes as more Hollywood stars threaten to boycott working in the state if the law is implemented. Earlier this month, Governor Brian Kemp signed the bill, which prohibits most abortions once a doctor can detect a fetal heartbeat. It doesn't go into effect until January of 2020, but it's already having a chilling effect on the state's growing film industry. Greg Bluestein joins us now from Dunwoody, Georgia. He's a political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Greg, thanks so much for joining us. If you could start off by giving us some background, when did Georgia become a hotbed for film and television productions?
Well, the state's film tax credit actually dates back more than a decade to the mid-2000s, but since then it's been expanded and it's become the most generous film tax credit in the nation. It's worth about $9 billion of direct investment in Georgia now, and supports about 90,000 jobs in the state. So it's a big part of Georgia's industry and a very important part of the legacy of several Republican governors, starting with Governor Sonny Perdue back in the mid-2000s.
So with that in mind, tell us what Governor Kemp's reaction has been to the boycott threats. How concerned is his administration about this?
I'd say they're concerned. During his campaign for governor, he stressed that he would exempt the tax break from any sort of review, from any sort of attempt to gut it, because he said it has already proven itself. But since he signed the anti-abortion heartbeat bill into law earlier this month, it has the controversy has grown. There's been a string of celebrities and producers, directors, actors, actresses who have all said that they will no longer work in Georgia if it takes effect. There's a very dim chance it will take effect because it will inevitably be bound up in a lawsuit that has yet to be filed. While it's still pending, it's sort of a complication for the governor. He said on one hand, he said that Georgia won't bow to what Hollywood wants it to do. On the other hand, he's also said that he still thinks Georgia is a welcoming place for the Hollywood, for the film industry. So he's trying to kind of walk a very thin line here without alienating a big part of Georgia's economy.
Well, you spoke with the Georgia state Democrat who opposes the new abortion law, but is also alarmed about the boycotts. What has the reaction been from state lawmakers?
They don't want to encourage any boycott movement because that would take away a key part of the state's economy. Instead, what you're hearing from Democrats is stay and fight. That's what they call that movement, stay and fight. They're encouraging the Hollywood industry to stay in Georgia, but to donate to the ACLU and other groups that are trying to fight this legislation. And that way, it won't hurt the economic backbone of Georgia's economy. From Governor Kemp, you're hearing a much more strident view, too. He's not only saying now that these industries don't represent Georgia, but he's saying he doesn't mind if C-list celebrities squawk at this law.
And yet, as I understand it, he did take some steps to at least gesture towards that welcoming kind of tone, right, by visiting, as I understand it, the state-funded Georgia Film Academy and another nearby studio.
Yeah, he visited the Film Academy as well as Pinewood Studios to try to tamp it down. Now, that meeting wasn't open to the public, so we're not exactly sure what he said, but it was seen as a gesture to just calm the atmosphere, to let film studio executives know that he still considers them a vital part of the state economy. They're still very concerned, but what helped, I think, in a way this week was Netflix coming out and kind of showing a third path. Rather than saying it's going to stay in Georgia simply, or rather than saying it's going to boycott the state, Netflix said was it was going to stay and fight. Instead of trying to boycott the state or just simply staying in Georgia, it was going to help fund the ACLU and other groups that are pushing back against this law. And that made sure that state studio executives here in Georgia are heaving a sigh of relief because they hope that other big film studios follow the same path.
Greg Bluestein. Greg, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.